Welcome to Texas Tracks and Taps. We are cold down here in Texas, but getting ready to warm you up. My name is John.
And I'm Coy.
And I'm Graham.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of our podcast. Today, we've got a lot to talk about. We actually are going to highlight Rahr and Sons beer, local favorite here in Fort Worth. We're also going to kind of go over an interview that Graham and I did out at the Bendt Distillery back in early November with a local musician by the name of Jacob Furr. And then a couple other things that we're going to wrap up with. But Coy, since you're an expert on beer, I'm going to kick it to you, man.
I don't know about expert. I think we're all qualified as much as possible. But thank you. I'll take it. Yes. Let's highlight beer first. We're very beer forward this episode. We are all partaking Rahr. Actually, let me get my can here. So Rahr Brewery, I'm enjoying Ugly Pug. I happen to own an Ugly Pug, so it's been a favorite of mine. Looks like you guys both have the Winter Warmer, which is a seasonal, available this time of year and very delicious. Ugly Pug, I think, is the third beer that Rahr ever made, available all year round. But so these guys are probably the first memory I have of Fort Worth beer. They've been around for 20 years, since 2004. So I think that's even before I was really starting to get into craft beer. I definitely was into beer and especially imports and things like that. That's kind of what I considered craft. I might have probably had a craft beer from California, probably an IPA. But I do remember somewhere in the mid to late 2000 aughts, before the end of that decade, definitely had Rahr at some point. Great beer, brewed in that German style. He is from Germany. He learned to make beer over in Germany, went to TCU, graduated from TCU. He also studied at the Seibel Institute in Chicago, which focuses on brewing science, the oldest brewing school in the United States, founded in the 1800s. So he definitely knows his stuff. And he's had lots of brewmasters and help along the way too. Great staff. And just every time I've been to that brewery, it's been an awesome experience. They're very involved in the Fort Worth community as well. And they've been a staple, for 20 years. That's hard to do in this industry. They are highly, highly respected by all of the craft beer brewers and owners that I personally know. And for good reason. I'll let you guys talk about your Winter Warmer, but Ugly Pug is a Schwarzbier or black lager. So that malty, toasted malts, coffee, chocolate flavor profile going on. Very, very good. But how's that Winter Warmer treating you guys?
Well, I have a question for both of you. Do they have a taste room? Do they have an actual pub that we can go down to?
Absolutely.
We need to do that.
I've attended a wedding at that brewery. And it's the fastest I ever saw a wedding go to a reception, because we literally were like, they said, I do. And then we just turned around and people were handing us beers. And it was one of my favorite weddings I've ever been to. It was great.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're down there on the near south side. Yeah, they have a very cool tap room at the brewery there. So we should definitely go check it out. Yeah, the Winter Warmer's great. English style dark ale. Yeah, a lot of just roasty, malty goodness. Very dark and delicious. I really love Winter Warmer. I like to get some every year, especially they do a barrel-aged version, which this is not what we're drinking tonight. But when I see it and I can get my hands on the barrel-aged Winter Warmer, I will do so because it's awesome. But 20 years, you can't, you don't do that by mistake or by luck. They know what they're doing. As Coy touched on, the guy, knows his stuff. And I think so many of, people who have gone on to other breweries have come out of Rahr, so that's something too. All right. Well, moving on from the beer a little bit, we're going to go ahead and kind of talk about Jacob and the interview that we did with him a couple of weeks ago. Like John said, we went and saw him before, a couple of days before we interviewed him out at Bendt Distilling, which was a great, little intimate show. And I had a great time out there. But wanted to sit down and kind of just get his thoughts on what he's doing, his music, and kind of the local music scene and all that. So we're just going to kick it now to that interview, and hopefully y'all enjoy watching it and listening to it as much as we enjoyed doing it. Jacob, welcome to the show, and
Hello.
thanks for being on. Really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
How you doing today?
I am very good. Been just waiting around all day to do this interview and hang out with y'all for a little while.
Stormy Sunday afternoon.
I know, right? Yeah, the light keeps changing in here. It's wonderful. I love it.
So we got the chance to see you. John and I did, at least out at Bendt Distilling.
Yeah, Bendt with a D.
Yeah, it was a good time. I was glad we got to go see you out there. And
Thanks for driving all the way to Louisville.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trek, but it's a cool place. And, it's been too long since I've seen you play, so it was much welcomed and had a good time. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about, how you felt about that show. You've played there before. How many times have you played there? How long have you been playing there?
I've been playing at Bendt since they opened, pretty much. So like pre-pandemic, I think. So probably 2019, something like that. Like it's been a long time. So whenever, I don't remember what date they opened on, but I've been playing there for a really long time. So yeah, it's been a while just hanging out there.
That's cool. How'd you kind of get that gig?
This booking guy that I know that does like restaurants and stuff, he took it over when they opened, I think, because he's friends with them. And yeah, it used to be like a monthly thing. And then I haven't done it monthly this year, which has been kind of a bummer because I like that place a lot and they're good people. Like they're really just like socially conscious people and wise people. I mean, they made it through the pandemic with a distillery. Like they're good at what they do. And so I like being able to support them and say like, hey, I'm playing here. If you're around close by, you should come hang out and buy some, whatever they've got going on in there.
So Jacob, first time seeing you live, great show last night. We kind of chat before we started the interview, really enjoyed it. First exposure to you too, really. Like I'm the guy that I've already kind of claimed on a couple of videos. I'm not from Texas originally, so didn't grow up with a lot of Texas music. So I love discovering new music, and we'll kind of talk about in a few minutes some of the things you taught me last night. Like I actually walked away learning some really good stuff last night.
I aim to educate at all of my gigs. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. We just went through a video not too long ago talking about how we got started into music and how we, our early upbringing in music. I'm just kind of curious, what were your, earliest memories and kind of your earliest influences in music?
I mean, I started playing guitar when I was a kid, like a little kid, because I didn't want to play piano and I was homeschooled. So my mom was like very into like, we have to prove that homeschooling is a valuable education back then. So I couldn't just take regular guitar lessons. I had to take classical guitar lessons. So I took classical guitar forever. So learned how to read music on the guitar and like studied with all these guys. Like, it was great. It was a good time. So that was my first like foray into the guitar. And then, prior to that, it was just like church music. And then after a while playing classical, ended up, playing at church and all that kind of stuff. Pretty typical intro point around here for people to play music and to write songs. It's like, play at church, get involved with the band there, and then, realize like, cause it's a good safe space to learn how to do it in and how to like, put music together and how to, sort of front a band, I suppose, in a lot of ways. So yeah, that was my first intro to the whole thing. And then it's, it's been going ever since then in lots of different avenues and have ended up doing lots of different things that I didn't expect to do originally. And, it's been a good adventure that those classical guitar lessons got me on.
So I'm curious, did mom and dad have anything, laying around the house music wise?
Oh yeah. My mom taught piano. She was a piano teacher. Yeah. And my dad didn't play anything. He always wanted to play drums when he was a kid, but his parents never bought him a drum set. So he actually, when I was in high school, he bought a drum set at a garage sale and brought it back just because he was like, I just want to play drums in the house when y'all aren't around. And it turned out that my sister ended up like taking over the drum set and she became this, like, she like went to Turkey. She played all over the place, like all over the country doing like worship music on the drums for all these like women's conferences and stuff. So she ended up being like, yeah, she loved playing drums. So she ended up doing that. But her thing was if she's going to play drums, she couldn't just play trap set. She had to learn how to play marching snare. So she learned like all the, like how to read all the music for the drums and everything.
Traditional band.
Yeah. Super highly educated homeschoolers playing music over here.
And who were, I guess outside of your family, like who were some of your, and I guess outside of the church, the strongest musical influences that you can remember? Like who were you really into early on?
I mean, as a kid, not a whole lot outside of the church because it was definitely during that period of like, we weren't trying to allow sort of influences inside the home or whatever. So it was a lot of church music, like, but by church, I mean, I had this conversation with somebody a while back, like that I didn't know it at the time, but a lot of that Christian music that was being made that was coming out of Nashville in like the 90s and early 2000s was deeply connected to like the rest of the songwriting world and the production world and like country music and gospel and all of these other different things. So all those people were working and writing in Nashville and doing all this stuff. And then like the product that I was consuming was like very much a Christian music sort of CCM world of things. But the people that were playing on those albums and were writing those albums and were producing them were like doing all kinds of stuff, which I only discovered later on. And that kind of like turned me on to a lot of different stuff. Like Madera is one. Oh shoot, I just hit my mic. Sorry. Phil Madera is one of them. He's a producer, songwriter guy up there that like played with the Rich Mullins, like Ragamuffin Band, Jimmy Abeggs, Buddy Miller, Mark Hurd. There's just a bunch of them that like, once you start diving into that culture of them, you realize like, oh, we didn't know it, but they were, deeply connected to the rest of the world. And so it all started there and then sort of fanned out from connections with those sorts of people into the rest of the world.
You mentioned learning how to front a band. So you recently had a full band show at Dan's. Like, tell me a little bit about that. How did that come together? And is it something you plan on doing more of?
Yeah, Dan's. I've played Dan's a bunch of times, just like solo or like opening for people or doing song swap stuff. And I've gotten to open for some like incredible people there that, I was really honored to be able to be asked to do that. Like Peter Case and Butch Hancock and like just some really cool stuff. Anyways, but yeah, I wanted to do a band thing there for a while and just hounded the new booking guy until he gave me a band show there. So we did it. I've got like a trio now that's like a rotating drummer and bass player. So like, cause all the guys that I know, they all play with like touring bands and stuff. So they're always busy. So I kind of have to keep doing new stuff with new people. So I had Justin Collins played drums and my friend Paul Douglas played bass. And yeah, we did just a trio show and we had these cats from up there. His name Max Twaddle, Dorian Marsh, and this guy named Ian Ross Cohen. They did like a trio opening, like acoustic guitar. It was very weird and very Denton and very cool. And I loved it. It was just very vibey and yeah, it was rad. They're super cool. So they're into all this like British folk music that I'm into. And that's kind of how I hooked up with them, was through just online, like looking for stuff that sounded like that. And we found each other and I was like, let's play a show together. So hopefully I get to go back and see. I mean, we brought some people in, so who knows?
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. So you do think you'll try to do it some more then?
Oh yeah, Dan's for sure. And then around here, I don't have any. I'm actually like where I'm sitting at right now. I'm like surrounded by all of my paperwork for trying to book stuff next year because everybody's sort of it's the season to start booking right now, like November before Christmas. So we're all supposed to be sending our emails out right now. So I'm trying to like compile my list. So I don't really have any plans yet for 2025, but I mean, I've got plans, but I don't have anything booked yet. So I'm like, everything's lined out here in front of me right now. So we'll see what happens next year. I haven't really booked anything up yet. So, but hopefully, I mean, I always do. I have been doing it for a long time. So something always happens and something always comes down. I figure stuff out, but I'm currently in the middle of the process of putting that all together.
Kind of want to get in a little bit about like the state of the local music scene. Like, how do you feel the state of like the Fort Worth or DFW, and on a larger scale scene is? How do you feel like the health of it is right now?
I mean, that's a broad question with a lot of different answers depending on who you talk to. I think like lots of people have lots of different experiences with it right now. For people like myself that have been doing it for a while, it's I don't know. It's just a very established thing. So like we have our gigs and we have our connections and we can sort of do what we've always done. And so it's not, I don't think there's anything like falling apart on that side of things at all. And we've had some venues close, but in all honesty, that didn't really affect me that much because I don't do like a rock band thing necessarily. So I don't need like a venue, like a bar venue to make my thing work, But for a lot of bands, I mean, they did need that. And so that's, for them, that's probably a big issue. But yeah, I don't know. I think everything seems like it's experiencing a sort of regrowth into something that we don't know what it is yet. Because there's a lot of new people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new energy. There's a lot of new money that's coming in. And I don't know if anybody knows where it's going or if it's going to pan out. Like if it's going to work towards, more people coming to shows or what yet. So it can, it's a wide open world. I guess I could say that. It's sort of a Wild West situation right now.
Right.
Well, Jacob, I got a kind of a sidebar question for you. So, obviously you play a lot in the Fort Worth and DFW local music scene. I guess the first question is, have you played in all the other local markets of like Houston and Austin and dove into those? I already know the answer is yes, you've played in some of those, but I guess what's the difference that you see between, here where we're all situated versus some of the other markets, which are, equally vibrant, if not, maybe even.
Oh yeah. Like way more established. Like they have a lot of them have a much more like acclaimed scene than Fort Worth does. Like, especially like Austin, obviously. Houston's really similar to Fort Worth in that they have like a really tight local scene, but nobody really knows about it in Houston. Like it's the same thing in Fort Worth where it's like, we have all these people that play and they're all really high quality. And for the past 10 years, we've been trying to figure out like how to expand that audience out from just the same people that come to shows all the time. Like there's this very small group of people in Fort Worth, and there always has, and I've said this forever. There's a small group of people that come to live music in Fort Worth on a regular basis. And those are the only people that come on a regular basis.
Nerds like us.
Yeah. And I always tell people, it's like, it's like a comic book convention a lot of times. Like, it's like, I'm into this thing for nerdy reasons. You're into this thing for nerdy reasons. Therefore we get together and talk about our nerdy thing that we're into. Then you have, that's one way, that's like one level of thinking about it. But then you have like these other people that have made it into a bigger product for a wider audience. Your Leons and Abrahams and Grady's and, who's the two girls that went to Nashville. Anyways, regardless, there are people that have made it into a wider net of things. And I think I don't know, I'm of the mind that's up to the artist to do and not necessarily the scene thing,
right?
So, if you're happy playing for 100 people, that's good. And you should be. That's a great thing that you can connect with those people. But yeah, as far as like other scenes, it's pretty much the same thing. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, oh yeah, you could move here and it would be the same exact, like culture of music that it is here. Like Austin, I don't know, Austin, I've been told that like they have a more dedicated fan base there, that like, people go out to live music as part of the culture there. And I suppose that's true. I've seen that happen for some people. And then I've seen other people go down there and struggle and do the same thing. So, but Houston specifically, Houston is exactly like Fort Worth. Like it's like, there's a small group of people. They go out to see local bands. Unless it's some big name thing, they're not going to get out of town for it. But they have like all these clubs and it's wild. Houston's cool because it's got all these different little things, but each one has its own little community and they don't really seem to like sort of cross pollinate with each other.
And I guess the next question that I was going to ask you is, outside of the DFW area and staying Texas based, that's kind of where, the three of us are trying to stay focused.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's been your favorite collaborator outside of the DFW area that you've played with that you say, man, I love working with that person?
The person that I talk to probably the most and play the most shows with right now is my friend Gabe Wooten from Galveston. He and I don't know, we hit it off years ago through our friend Larry Hooper. And Gabe had known Larry for years from like A&M days and stuff like that. And so Larry introduced us, and then, we've just started playing shows together, and we did a bunch of stuff at Old Quarter, and I've had him come up here and play a bunch of stuff with me at the Preservation Hall and Post. And so, I love playing with Gabe. He's like one of my favorite just people, period, to be with. And then, he's got people from out of state, because I had this residency where I was like bringing in all these people from out of state. So I had so many people like, they're like, oh, this is so cool. But if you want to stay in Texas, the other person would be this guy named Pat Byrne from Austin that I played a couple of things with. He moved here from Ireland a while back and like has really taken off in the Austin thing and in the sort of folk music world. So we've played a couple of things together and it's just fun to play with him just because I was getting into like Irish music at the same time that he like showed up at the Post. And so we just took it off from there and it was great. So, but yeah, I would say that as far as Texas goes.
Speaking of Irish music, that's a good segue.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Into what from last night.
Segue into the Paul Brady incident
from last night's weirdness. Yeah. Yeah, met that. I truly didn't think
a little
that
bit about that.
Yeah, I was playing Lakes of Pontchartrain. I guess I'll tell Coy this story since y'all were there. So Coy,
I already heard a little bit of it, but
last night at my gig, story. Coy,
I was playing. I wish I could have been there.
Yes. It was weird. I was playing this like really, it's a folk song. It's a folk song from the like 1800s, like post Civil War pretty much. And I mean, that's just why I don't make very much money in tips at my gigs, obviously. But I like turned around at one point to like look to my side for some reason. And this lady was like videotaping me singing that song. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Like this is going to be what's going to happen. And then as soon as I got done, her husband came up and was like, hey, does a great version of Lakes of Pontchartrain. Do you know who does the most famous version of that? And I was like, yeah, Paul Brady does. Like, duh. You know, if you know that song, you know that Paul Brady does the best version of it and is like known for his version. And he was like, yeah, that's my uncle. And I was like, what? Like, because Paul Brady is this like legendary musician from Ireland, like just one of the greatest guitar players, incredible songwriter, like really distinct voice, like just super important musician from Ireland. And I was like, your uncle is Paul Brady? And like people, you know, talk a lot of BS sometimes. And so I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, we'll see what happens. And then sure enough, his wife like pulled up all these pictures from when they were at Paul Brady's house last year.
Wow.
And we're like, here's our niece with hanging out with Paul in his backyard. And here's a picture of my husband's mom. That's Paul's sister. And I was like, this is insane. Yeah, it's so super weird. Yeah, that's the second time something like that's happened recently too. Because a couple of months ago, I was in Dallas playing at this place called Jack Ruby's Saloon, and I was playing a Richard Thompson song, and this guy came up and was like right in front of me, videotaped me the whole time, and I was like, "This is weird." Like, but clearly a Richard Thompson fan, so that's rad. Like, we'll be buds then. And I got done playing, and he was like, "Hey, my name's Paul Mitchell. I think was his last name." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "You don't know me?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "I played harmonica with like the last iteration of Fairport Convention back in the day." And I was like, wait, what? And so sure enough, looked this guy up and he had played harmonica with Fairport Convention after Richard Thompson had left Fairport Convention. But like he was buds with the original bass player and like all these people. He's like, yeah, I'm sending this video to like all the folks in Fairport Convention right now. I was like, that's really weird.
Crazy.
That was another one where I was like, is this guy really full? And then I looked him up and I was like, sure enough, there he is playing harmonica with Fairport Convention. So it's wild. It hasn't panned out into any sort of like, hey, come over and play with us or anything. But that's just probably because I need to learn how to play those songs better.
You should, hit him up and say, hey, you got to hook me up with Paul, you know?
Yeah, right.
So last night when you made mention, I think you were talking to them, you said that, Paul Brady's like top 3 for you. Who are the other two?
Oh, yeah.
Who are the other two?
I mean, currently top 3. Yeah, for sure. I would put, who else have I been listening to a lot of recently? Well, I'm going to have to get out my Spotify or whatever and look at this because
it's a hard-hitting question.
Well, I can't just think off the top of my head, Like, I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of, like we mentioned earlier, Josh Ritter. Like he just put out a new album the other day. And so I just put that on for the first time. I haven't listened to him in a while, but he's always been one of my top, like people that I love his music. And somebody sent me his new album the other day. I was like, oh yeah, I need to listen to this. And I put it on, loved it. And then it looks like, who else is on here? Just do a lot of Daryl Scott. Do y'all know who Daryl Scott is?
Mm-mm.
He's like, he wrote some songs for the Dixie Chicks. He wrote It's a Great Day to Be Alive. Like, it's a great day to be alive.
Yeah.
Like just incredible songwriter, but also phenomenal musician all on his own. So yeah, a lot of that. So put those 3 up there for now. Yeah. Until tomorrow when I listen to somebody else and go, oh yeah, man, I forgot about how much I love this album.
I really don't want to hog the questioning here. So if you got
all
more,
good.
jump in
No,
here. But
you're good.
I've got, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Prosody.
Oh yeah. Did you look it up?
Well,
I meant to look the word up to make sure I wasn't full of it last night, and I forgot to do that.
Jacob ruined a song for me. Well, he didn't ruin it. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot last night, but then he ruined a song that I wasn't a huge fan of, but knew it from my youth. And Coy, I'll share it with you since you weren't there last night. But you brought up the term prosody, and I didn't even know how to spell it correctly. But I spent like an hour when I got home talking to my wife and my mother-in-law about this, and walked him through the song. What is it? Hey, or I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston.
Yes.
So in my head, that's just a pop, like bubblegum fun song. And Jacob came up to me and said, "What last night?"
I was like, well, yeah, but the music doesn't match the lyrics at all. Which is like why I'm no fun at parties to hang out with, because they're,
But it's true. Like I went and looked up the lyrics, and I was like, man, that's like a super sad
it's
song.
a bummer. Yeah, it's a bummer. I used to cover that song for a while until people started asking for it. And then I was like, I don't want to become I want to dance with somebody guy. But I would
Right.
do this like slowed down, like indie sad boy version of it just to like, and people liked it a lot. Like they were like into it. And then I was playing a gig, sort of like the same thing last night. Somebody came up and was like, oh, are you that guy that does want to dance with somebody? And I was like, no, that's not me, man. I don't know who you're talking to.
Not anymore.
Well,
That's awesome. I'd love to hear that cover though, sometime.
I need to break that. I haven't done it in a while. I don't even really remember. It's remembering the lyrics for me. Like I can remember the chorus, but the verse lyrics, I'm like, I don't remember how the verse goes, but
You touched on something. There was a question that I had, and I'm the same way. I love the juxtaposition of either sad lyrics with upbeat music or vice versa, where you're just like, these don't match, but it works and I like it. So, I mean, just so on that note, when it comes to your own songwriting, can you walk us through like your process when you write a new song? What does that look like? And I have a part 2 after you've answered that.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Process wise, I'm a really slow writer. I take like a lot of time, and I don't write I'm not one of these people that like sits down and writes every day or does a bunch of writing exercises or anything. I just wait until somebody tells me a story or I have a strong enough emotion about something to like sort of sit down and start to think about it. But usually I start with like just playing guitar for a while, and I'll, start with like the TV on and just sort of like I don't want to call it meditative, but just zoned out guitar playing and just letting my hands like connect to different things and see what's going on. And then once I find something, that's interesting enough on the guitar, then I'll be like, oh, okay, let's, try to put words down to this. And then once that first draft of something's done, it usually sits for a really long time in that first draft version until it sort of gets picked up later on. And I hear something else and go, oh, that would be a good idea for that song. Or, oh, another set of noodling around goes, oh, this would be cool to put in here instead of this. Or, I love arranging songs. So I love that idea of like we were talking about, like taking the lyrics and maybe putting music that fits to them. But then also I love like hearing different styles of music and going, oh, what if I didn't think to play in that rhythm? Like, what if we do this with these lyrics that are already written and sort of like mess around with that? So yeah, that's the process in a nutshell.
Yeah. And this isn't my part 2, but it made me think of when are you done? Cause I get into like a mode where I'm always fiddling or tweaking, and I seem to have just a lot of unfinished things. And it's hard to get to that point of like, just, hey, this is done. It needs to be finished. I got to walk away.
Yeah. I mean, I see the guitar, so I don't think they're done because they're like living entities in themselves anyways. Like the songs, they sort of exist on their own outside of me. Like the only thing they needed me for was the translation into the real world. And then beyond that, they take on their own life and do their own thing. So I don't know, like I've got songs now that I wrote forever ago that I can come back to and be like, oh, this would be a cool little musical idea to do here. And I think that's part of why I like playing music, is that sense of curiosity and addition to things. So I don't see that as a negative, like that something never feels finished. Like,
yeah.
And as far as recording it goes, when you're recording a song, you're just taking a little picture of it in that moment anyways. Like, So why, why stress about, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. Like, make it as good as you can. But then at the end of the day, you just kind of go, yeah, that was good. We're done. That felt right.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the next thing, So that's my take on that.
Trust your gut, trust your instincts.
Yeah. Yeah. If it feels done, then it's done. If it doesn't feel done, if you're working on a deadline, right? Like, do you need to get an album out?
Yeah.
Like, okay, just knock it out real quick and see what happens. You can always re-record it,
And then my actual part 2. So with all that in mind, what's your favorite song you've written, or one that means the most? That's probably a really difficult question.
Woof. Yeah, that's a toughie. I don't know. I have so many that I like. This sounds like a brag. It's not a brag, but I have a lot that I've forgotten how to play just for like personal reasons. I've set them aside or whatever. And then I'll go back to them and be like, that was really good. But I think the one that I never stop playing is a song called Branches. Like, I always play Branches every time I play a show. That's like my favorite song that I don't know if it's my favorite one that I've ever done. It means the most to me. It's my favorite it's my favorite. Let's just say it. Yeah. Just thinking out loud. Yeah. I love that song, Branches. But then I have other ones that I'm like, I really love a song called O Phantom that I wrote. That is like, I don't know. I felt like I nailed all the imagery in that one. And I love the guitar part for that one. Like, that's my thing. It's like, I love a really good guitar part. So like, if it's one that's straightforward, I'm like, yeah, it's a good song. It works, whatever. But if it's got a cool guitar part and I come back to it and go, oh, it's fun to play. Like, that's my new favorite one, in that moment.
Busted out on Paso last night, which I
did.
really appreciate.
Yeah.
That's
You
on
got to
my
ask for that one. That's not one that I usually play. That's a deep cut. Like, you got to know it.
It was the first one I listened
to. Thanks. Yeah. You got to tune the guitar weird for that one too. So it's like, and that's another one that, like, if I showed you on the guitar, like how it works, I'm like, this is why I love this. Cause it's this shape that just like moves around and does all these different things. And yeah, I love that song.
Very cool. Fort Worth Songwriters Fest. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how did you get involved with it, and kind of what's the impetus behind it?
Well, the impetus behind it from my perspective, because I'm not like one of the organizers or anything, but from what I can see from the outside, sort of looking in, is that it appears to be an attempt to connect us as a Fort Worth like songwriter scene. Cause that's like a thing now, that you can be like a songwriter and play these songwriter festivals all over the place, is to connect that and this group of people that do this to a wider audience of people outside of Fort Worth. So, cause there's songwriter festivals all over the place. Like they're popping up, everywhere. They had one in Dripping Springs recently, like, okay. Yeah. And then they've got, like Corpus Christi has one, and there's a couple in Florida. Like, they do them as like, I don't know, they're celebrations of songwriting, but then I think they're also tourism advertising stuff too, a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's another reason to have a festival, basically.
Yeah.
For a lot of places. So I think that's what this one feels like, is that it's sort of our attempt to connect to that world of songwriting festivals and bring people in that play on that circuit, and then also be able to send people out that, are deserving of playing on that circuit and could be, and really wouldn't have an in otherwise. But that's just
some good exposure for those.
Yeah, it's a lot of good exposure. So that's my take on it. But I think Keegan McEnroe's heading it up, and then Brooks from Athlon is also doing a major part of the booking. And then, but they've also got the library involved as well. So Amplify 817 is part of it now. So I think there's an educational element to it that's going on, just because the library is involved in it. Like, I'm teaching my son, like, music theory on Sunday. But they're also doing like an open song circle every day. So they're having, like, out in the courtyard, they're just doing like a all day long open mic. Like, anybody can come and hang out and play song. You don't have to be involved in the festival, so it's a very like community oriented thing, which is not something that happens at these other festivals. Like, so yeah, it seems like a good thing all around. I'm excited for it and see how it goes. So.
And this is going to be the first one, right?
This is the first one, the inaugural one. Yeah. And they're doing it at the Preservation Hall, the Southside Preservation Hall, which has become the last stand for solo singer-songwriters in Fort Worth after the Post closed. And like, we've got other places, Cicada and all that kind of stuff, they do it. But like, as far as listening room vibes go, the Preservation Hall is sort of like the final place where everything's sort of landed at, which is great in my opinion. I think it should have been that all along, honestly, because it's a nonprofit, it's volunteer run, it's a beautiful little space, it's a community space. Like, it's my favorite. And I am ashamed that I didn't use it prior to prior to the post closing all these other places. Cause it works wonderfully. And the people that run it are great. And yeah, I love it. So.
Well, that's great. I haven't actually been there, but I'm looking forward to getting out there Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Songwriters.
Did they email y'all back about volunteering over there?
I haven't seen an email come back yet. I assume,
Okay.
maybe it'll be
I'll bother
Monday
them about
or
it. I'll
something.
bother them about it. So y'all can get out there and help out and get a day
Yeah,
pass.
I think
hang out.
that'll be good for us to get out there and volunteer and get involved. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and y'all can meet people too for the
Yeah.
podcast. Like, find some other folks to interview and talk to. I'll hook you up with whoever I can over there. So
excellent. All right. Anybody
Jacob,
have anything else before we wrap
Well, I
up?
was gonna. Is there anything, any upcoming projects, anything that you're working on that you kind of want to just let the listeners kind of in on?
I mean, yeah and no, kind of ish. Like everything's sort of fluid right now for 2025. So I recorded this like solo album last year
Mhm.
and like finally got the artwork for it. And, but it's some older songs of mine that have already been released, but I did them again at Niles City, like with just me and an acoustic guitar. And then I put some of the older folk songs that I'm into on that. So I don't know if that's going to come out next year or not. I'm going to try to do it if I can. That'll come out. But then the main thing for me is like just people signing up on my email list is like my big push right now. Like, cause everything for me is so fluid. So like month to month, it can change. I can be like, oh man, I just got this really great thing. Like, please come over here and do this. So that's my big thing is like signing up on my email list right now. I'm just trying to get as many people over there as I possibly can. So
JacobFurr.com, right?
yeah, you go to jacobfurr.com and there's I think it's under the contact tab. It should say like subscribe or whatever. And yeah, if you go there and do that, that would be awesome. And yeah, I send that email out on the first day of the month, every month. So before I post about anything that's coming up, or I try to save up all my announcements and all the, whatever I want to talk about. I'm putting it all in the email so that I don't have to put it on social media at some point. So.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I have not signed up yet, but I will sign up.
Well,
I got to put a plug in though, like my favorite music medium. Like, I don't know if you're thinking about pressing on vinyl.
it's too expensive, man. It's
I
so
know.
expensive. It's
I
so
know.
expensive. I think I have like $1,500 in my bank account right now. So it's like,
I know.
like it's, I would love like this, especially this folk album. Like it would be awesome to do it. But part of that is like, it's cost prohibitive and I'd have to get it mastered a different way than it's mastered right now. So I got to pay the guy for the mastering and then pay the guy for the new artwork that's like sized for the thing. And it's just it's
It's
a whole
only money.
process. Yeah, it's only money. Yeah, yeah. But here, I'll meet you here. If I do get enough people signed up on the email list, then I can start a crowdfunding campaign or Patreon and start making enough money to where that stuff
There
will
you
be
go.
financially feasible for me to do.
That's
But
what I need.
as of right now, playing for, a couple $100 at the local distillery is not enough to pay for vinyl. So
That
Just
actually,
sign up on
that actually
Jacob
reminds
Furr.
me of a question I did want to ask about just, I know you teach guitar lessons. Are you doing anything else now as far as like, a job?
oh no. Yeah. I just teach guitar and play. Yeah. That's all I do. So, and prior to the pandemic, cause that opened up, I got that job teaching guitar in August of 2020. So, and that's the first job, quote unquote, that I've had since 2013, I think, maybe 2013-ish. So it's been, I've only been playing music this entire time and like working with music and teaching music and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So follow up on that. Could you feasibly, because my whole thing is, I think it's tragic, I guess, in a way that a lot of artists, they have to, work multiple jobs just to support, actually doing what they love, which is writing and playing music for people.
Yeah.
If you weren't teaching guitar lessons and you didn't choose to do that, could you support yourself on just playing music?
Yeah, I mean, I did for a while. I don't think post pandemic you can necessarily, just because everything's gotten like so much more expensive.
Oh yeah.
But I've also gotten really used to having like higher income. So like I bought a car because I, had a job that was like stable and I get paid X amount of dollars every month. And so I could get a car loan finally, so
Right.
in the past I was paying cash for beaters and
Right.
had no car payment and my insurance was like $50 a month. And so my overhead was like so low that, yeah, you could get by playing gigs on the weekend because all you had to do was pay rent, and have a roommate and play music, with the roommate or whatever. So that's doable. I mean, it's doable. I don't think you can build like a big career out of doing that. I think you can build a very solid $50,000 a year career out of doing that. And if that's good enough for you and you can live on that, then, absolutely. It's totally doable. Like, it's not hard to even do that. Like, it took me forever to figure out how to do it, but I know people that have gotten that within a year of playing professionally.
Okay.
So yeah, sort of behind the curtains look there. Yeah. You can make 50K playing music play music solo on patios every year.
Yeah.
Like, no problem. And that's pre-taxes, obviously. Post-taxes, you're down to about 40, whatever. So if you can live on that, yeah, you can do it totally. But you have to figure out, and I think a lot of people in my similar situation right now are like trying to figure out, like, how do you level up out of that situation? Like, it's doable. And that used to be like good enough prior to 2020. And now it's like, yeah, you can't really afford a whole lot of life on 50 a year anymore. So, you can do it. I mean, you can do it, but it's not super comfortable. So yeah. So I like teaching guitar because it takes care of all of my overhead bills and I don't have to worry about anything. And I just, let that ride the way it is.
How many
So,
students
The
do you
Spotify checks are not large enough.
I mean, okay, here's the deal. I don't know yet, like, because they just did this new payment thing, right?
Oh, did they?
But then they messed with the algorithm. Sorry, if y'all need to go, like, I don't want to.
Oh, you're good.
I told you I
Yeah,
could
no.
talk forever about anything that you like. So the Spotify thing, at the beginning of this year, they changed the way that they pay out, right, to everybody. So it was like, if you don't make 1,000 streams, you don't make any money on this thing, right? But at the same time, which pissed everybody off, including me, I was furious about it and still am. I hate Spotify. I wish the place would burn to the ground. Like,
Right.
evilest corporation other than like Amazon right now on the face of the planet. I hate
Ticketmaster?
Spotify.
You probably throw Ticketmaster in there.
Yeah, Ticketmaster. Yeah, any of them. Just burn them all. I don't care. But the thing that I've noticed this year about Spotify is that the algorithm has changed as well. And so I released this album last September. So not this September, but like September 2023.
Return.
Yeah, Return. And the song Take Care on that, like when I released it, it was like, okay, I think I had like 50 pre-saves of the album, which last year was the thing to do. And now this year it's not the thing to do. I don't know, whatever. It's all messed up. But point being, that song has more streams than anything else that I've ever done ever over the past year. And it just keeps getting picked up in all these like streaming radio stations and like suggested for you things. So I don't know, like I think I'm up to like almost 20,000 streams on that song right now. For the year, it's not even that big of a number. It's big a number for me because I've never done anything. So I don't know what that check is going to look like. It will be in the like $100 range, but it will be more than I've ever made on Spotify before.
Wow.
And so, but there's some people, I mean, there's all kinds of gimmicks out there. There's people right now that like, you can pay for an ad on Instagram to just link to your Spotify song and just leave that ad running for 6 months. And just every month it just keeps going. And I mean, I'm talking people that don't play shows as solo songwriters, like that have these things out and they've got one song out and they have like 8,000 monthly listeners on their Spotify. And I've only got 1,000. So if I've got 1,000 and I've got, 20,000 streams and stuff, if you've got 8,000, that's insane. So it's all a numbers game. I don't even know how it all works.
There was a guy who just got
insane.
arrested for scamming Spotify. I don't know if you
Yeah, because he was putting up like fake AI songs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like even in like the real world though, like if you have a song that you actually wrote and recorded and put it on there, you can just run ads to push people to your Spotify and bump your numbers up like crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's wild. So yeah. And then I veer off into like what's reality and what isn't reality from there. So it doesn't matter. But Spotify check, I'm fascinated to see what this year's check will be based on that 20,000 stream, because I've never had that before. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's going to be a couple $100, maybe $100. I don't know what it's going to be, but that will be more than I've ever done before. So who knows, we'll see what happens. It'd be great to
Fingers
make
crossed it's high.
millions of dollars on Spotify. Yeah, I'm gonna have a great big old massive hit. This middle-aged bearded guy playing sad folk songs. Yeah, it's my time, y'all.
No, that's great though. It's good. That's good. You're getting the hits though and the streams on there. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and all over the world too. I don't know how it works. It's fascinating to watch happen. I don't know who any of the people are. I can't contact them, but
Right.
according to the app, it's happening. So I'm like, oh, cool.
yeah, you just gotta trust that it's
Yeah.
real people.
Jacob Furr, international superstar. We're
I did
grateful
meet
for
a guy-
your time.
I did meet a guy from Sweden the other day that put my song on his playlist, and he sent me a message and was like, "Hey man, I've been listening to this song a bunch." I was like, "Oh, that's rad, cool. Can I please come play in Sweden? Let him stay at your house."
Yeah. There's a lot of good music in Sweden.
There's a ton of stuff over there. So.
All right. Well, I think that's probably enough. We've taken enough of your time.
Well, thanks for listening to me ramble. Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts.
No, that's fine, man. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Get your thoughts. So yeah, thanks again, Jacob.
Well, thanks for having me. It was nice to meet you, John and Coy.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Jacob. Hope
Yeah.
to see you this weekend at the Songwriters Festival.
Yeah, I'll be there on Sunday I think I play at 5. I teach a lesson at 10:30, so it'll be a long day. It'll be good.
And Prosody kids. Look it up. And Jacob
I
will
look it up. I don't think it's actually a word. I think I might have made that word up. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. I don't know.
I mean, it seemed logical. Made sense to us. Like a real word, so we bought it.
Thanks for having me. It was nice to meet y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Okie dokie. Y'all too. We'll see you later.
All right.
Good to
bye.
see you, Jacob. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
We'll take care of the things that get left behind. Don't let them fall beneath the dust of time. 'Cause the darkness comes without, the darkness comes within, and it'll try to take everything you've been given. And take care of the dreams that grow in your mind. Give them water, set them out in the sunlight. 'Cause the darkness comes without, the darkness comes within, and it'll try to take everything you've been given. So take care, take care, take care. And hold it all freely, let it go easy. The open hand is ready to receive. Yeah, hold it all freely and let it go easy. The open hand is ready to receive. And take care of the well that's in your heart. Draw deeply on its waters, but don't let down your guard. 'Cause the darkness comes without, the darkness comes within, and it'll try to take everything.
All right. Hope everybody enjoyed that interview with Jacob. I certainly enjoyed being introduced to him. So, Graham, thanks so much for getting that set up. He's just such a nice, down-to-earth guy, a singer-songwriter that's local here to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I hope you enjoyed the stories about how he taught me quite a bit about songwriting. He taught me about prosody and ruining that Whitney Houston song. So really enjoyed meeting him, and definitely a fan now. I've actually been following him for the past few weeks on social media, just looking up all of his videos on YouTube. So great dude, man. So thanks, Graham. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Love Jacob. And, I meant to kind of say this at the beginning, but he's been doing this a long time now.
Yep.
Probably started, if I'm not mistaken, playing gigs and stuff. And, maybe 2000, mid to late 2000s. So, going on a couple of decades now. Didn't release his first full-length album until 2014, Trails and Traces, it's a great album. Like, I love it. And Still probably my favorite record of his, although his newest one is very, very good as well. I think his newest one definitely shows a lot of growth as far as, the maturing in the songwriting, that he's experienced over the years. And yeah, it's fantastic. And like you said, just a great dude, just a really cool guy, down to earth and easy to talk to, and loves to talk music. So I really appreciate him being on the show. So thank you again, Jacob, for joining us. And yeah, I'm going to kick it to Coy now to kind of tease our next episode.
Yeah. Jacob and Rahr, two Fort Worth institutions, the last years or so. But yeah, so next episode, we are going to look at, we're getting close to Christmas. So we're going to look at doing some Christmas themed episode. And also, we have not forgotten, John, your assignment for Graham and myself to check out Lightnin Hopkins. We just did not have time to give you our book report on that yet, but we will definitely be doing that next episode as well. But yeah, anything else, guys, before we sign off?
Nope.
I think we left it all on the table. We covered it all this time. Great job to the three of us.
Cheers.
Cheers to Jacob, to Fritz, Rahr,
Thank you.
everybody. All right, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.